Welcome back to another episode of Pages and PJs. I'm here in Victoria. Lou is up in Queensland. But together we are having a chat under the covers about a particular book we've both just read. Now, I just want to start by a little bit recently we've been talking a lot about a particular book or a series of books that Lou is basically my gateway drug for that. And if you've seen episode 1 and 2 of our pod, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. You might even see it over my shoulder. But anyway, heated rivalry, that's a whole nother topic. This, however, I was Lou's gateway to introducing her to this particular author. So I'm going to show you the book that I actually introduced you with. And it's this gorgeous thing here.
Yeah.
This
10.
I still reckon it's in my top 10 of all-time favourites. It's one of those ones that's so ridiculous, so hilarious, but also so touching and heartwarming. It's an amnesia trope, but it's not a normal amnesia trope. And if you hadn't read this book, what even are you doing with your life? But this is not what we're here to talk about today. And we're talking about Alexis Hall. And we're talking about, we had boyfriend material.
I've got it all here. We got boyfriend material,
husband
kicks
material,
it off.
show us.
We have, aren't the covers just gorgeous too? Husband material. And the third book's come out. Doorstopper, father material.
Father material, and that's the one we've both just finished reading. Now, I read this, I think a week ago, and I said to Lou, oh my God, you need to read this. And she did, pretty much in the next 24 hours. Is that correct?
Pretty much you didn't think that I could have it read in a week. And I was just like, Sharon.
And you were messaging me as you were going through the chapters, and I'm like, it's not bad.
So all due credit to Carina of Shelf Lovers. She had an ARC copy and she thought it was hilarious about each other sledging. You're not going to read this in a week. And she just shoved it in my face and went, here's the ARC. Did you know I had an ARC? And so it's just recently gone on sale. 2nd of June, 2026. It hit the shelves. Yeah. So this is the third book in the installment, and I think one of the things I'd like to ask you first of all, anyone listening who are going, I'm new to Alexis Hall, they really should start with boyfriend material, in my humble opinion. Read all 3, because there's just a great supporting cast of characters around these 2 characters that I think you need that back history. Do you think, you're nodding, so I'm assuming you're 100% on board with my reading theory there? Start at the beginning?
Yes.
Yeah. Are we going to get spoilery? Do you want to be a bit spoilery? There's some things I'd really like to actually say.
I think the first 2 books are out enough. And you kind of know the little bit of a scenario from the headline, or the title. Even if we just go and just do a little bit of a refresh about boyfriend material. If we go back to even just boyfriend material, and on the surface, this also ticks all my favourite boxes, right? We have the celebrity, or this is the son of celebrity rock stars.
Yes.
So we've got a little bit of a wild child. We've got the straight-laced lawyer, and fake dating. Honestly, tick, 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 I'm in straight away. I knew this was going to be a good one.
And we'll do a visual aid. So Luke's up in the Rockstar 50 Shades of Black. And I just want to say I love there's a visual pun about his name that Alexis Hall capitalizes on in this story, about how some people when you're always in Luke or Lucian's POV. So his full name is Lucian O'Donnell, but we all know him as Luke in his head. But he has this wonderful way of saying, you can just tell that person made my name Luke, and it only works reading it. I don't know how that would work as LUC versus LUKE audio. And did you audio it? Because you have been hitting the audio books lately. Was that something that stood out to you when you were reading this? How did they do that on audio?
Yeah, I read this as an ebook, so I didn't listen to the audio.
You were ebook. Yeah, if anyone, actually, please chime in on our socials if you did the audio version, because I love that. The puns that he did around his name. It's Luc, not Luke. As a Lou herself, yes. And I think the equivalent of it is Louis, right. Louise, Louisa, all of those permutations. I just love that snarky joke, and it's a snarky joke that goes across the 3 books. And I realised I stopped in the middle. There's Oliver. Look at him in his barrister greys. He's very boring. It sounds very Shane Hollander boring, doesn't it, when I say that? And it really is opposites attract. They're a most unlikely pairing, considering where each of them are. We got the fake dating too that sets them up as boyfriend material. Utterly ridiculous and wonderful. And even when I say opposites attract, I love how Luke is just this pizza swilling carnivore. Like, he really only eats plant material if it's a crust of a pizza. And whereas Oliver, Alexis Hall has written this charming ethical vegan, and he thinks through every ethical sort of dilemma with breathing, with walking out of his flat, all these sorts of things. But he's just so much heart. But you could actually think he's really, stuck up his butt. And it's because we're in Luke's POV, we do think that. But I think you've already probably cottoned on, dear reader. Everything works out okay because we move on to all these other books. But, it's just utterly gorgeous. And I think actually husband material, Alexis Hall, for me, I love the commentary around what is or was a gay wedding, because essentially husband material, and it's in the blurb, I'm not telling you anything, this is not spoilery, it is 4 weddings and a funeral if it were queer, left, right, back and centre. And I adored that. My God, we even have, it's like a little bit Bridget Jones's Diary, because the one straight person in the book is called Bridget and she's called Bridge the whole time. So that's just a running gag in itself, but you soon forget she's more than a gag. She is a fantastic supporting cast member to our dear hapless Luke as he's trying to navigate life. But yeah, I love the 4 weddings and a funeral vibe.
Even the work colleagues is another supporting cast of just like,
it's another level of absurdity, isn't it? Like British society absurdity. You and I have been bonding so much because I just send you the most random references to the cheese jokes that are being made in, because he went through a knock-knock joke phase, and I can't remember which book had the knock-knock jokes. Doesn't matter. You're going to read all 3 now, aren't you? Because you're listening to us bang on about these books. But there's so many cheese jokes in this. Oh, debris, camembert, the bear jokes. You do actually just bark out this laugh. It's like, and it's father material, and it's so dad joke coded. Like, Alexis Hall writes humour that's really obvious, and then there's just this subliminal layer. I don't even know if he's writing subconsciously or what it is, but his humour. I want to be Alexis Hall when I grow up. Alexis Hall needs to run, masterclass workshops in how to do this, because it's utterly delightful. So while it's rom-com, it's totally... But we've got mental health rep. Mental health does not go away, or in terms of the issues both of them have, just because they fell in love. No, and I love how they are both working so hard to be the best they possibly can as individuals together, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I love the mental health rep that are in these books. But the emotional depths, like, this is rom-com. But it's going to make you think, and it's going to make you swoon. Like, what's some of the emotional, let's call it emotional depth moments, but what were some of the EDMs for you in father material?
I think for me, there's so many parts that are just ridiculously hilarious. but then you sort of because you're seeing it from Luke's point of view, you're also seeing his opinion of himself compared to Oliver. You're seeing his fears, his emotions. There's so many different layers in this story. Like, as much as you're like, there's times I had to put this book down. I was laughing that hard. Like, I couldn't even read anymore. Like, I often have to stop because I'm crying. But with these books, I'm laughing that hard. I have to just lie there and enjoy the laugh. They are that funny. But then a minute later, you're reading the next bit and you're just like, oh, you know, my heart. Just, I mean, again, tying the lines of, you know, how spoilery do we go? But it's obviously clear with father material. We know sort of where it's headed. But it's just that whole questioning is like, am I going to be able to do this? It's like, I feel like I can't even function as a human being for myself. How am I supposed to be responsible for somebody else? Or even, you know, it's just that whole, and there's so many layers of it too. Like, even in the second book, in husband material, and it's watching all of their friends all partner up and get married, and that pressure that they have, you know, is this what we're supposed to be doing? The same sort of scenario, I guess, is also in father material, because you've got others that are having kids. Well, you start off with, you know, right in the beginning, there's a pregnancy about to end kind of stuff, you know, like the baby's about to be born. Like, there's that whole scenario of like, this is the next stage of our lives. Are we ready for it? Are we ever going to be ready for it? Is everyone else going to be ready for us? There's just so many raw emotions. And I think because, particularly with Luke, he's very open about his thoughts in the book. Because a lot of it he's thinking in his mind. He doesn't always say it out loud, but he says so many things in his mind with a lot of humour. But then you also feel those moments where he feels like he can't do what's needed. He's failing, and it could be in his relationship and the things that he needs to do around the house, but also in his career, like when the organisation that he worked, the dung beetle company is going to go bust.
Yes.
And it's up to him. He sort of feels like, oh, you know, what am I going to do? Like, this, you know, what's next? And he really sort of steps up to the plate, but he doesn't even take that into consideration that he's actually doing something. He doesn't take the credit for how great he actually is. But it does come out in some point later on.
Yeah, that's so true. He doesn't back himself as often as we want him to. Like, you're always rooting for the both of them. And then for very good reasons, which I won't share, because that's an utter delight to see it evolve over 3 books. But there's very good reasons why Luke does not back himself. And he has been let down by people who are close to him, who should have had his back and his heart. And then Oliver delivers that and more. Like, but Luke's also our hero. Like, Luke guides Oliver, you know, points out directions to him that Oliver then decides, yep, okay, I'll go in that direction and pursue things. And it's not very spoilery at all, but it's like, you know, going to therapy and talking about like his upbringing and things like that, which is something he'd never considered. And so Hot Mess Express, the so-called Hot Mess Express, he ends up actually guiding a lot of people. So, and I think he's actually, the root of all of Luke's problems is he doesn't back himself or think that he can do it. And everyone around him is basically going, yeah, you can. And yeah, we'll indulge you and let you think that for a while in this mental breakdown. You're meant to be that you're having now with us on the Millennial Bridge. I love also too, There's just so many very London things about these books. Like, I feel like I could go to the gastropub that they regularly go to. I feel like I could be at that spot on the Millennium Bridge, all that sort of thing. That's what makes, I think, this great. If anything, I think this is the British 3-part version of Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Yes.
And I'm looking at the colours, like it really is red, white, and royal blue. Probably deliberately so. We see what you're doing there, Sourcebooks over in the UK. And we're not unhappy at all. But
Yeah.
I actually could see these as movies. Like, adapt this now. Adapt this now. Give
Yes.
Alexis Hall
Yes.
a big pot of money. Hand this over to someone. I don't know. I was going to say who made Bridgerton, but that's an American. That's Shondaland. I actually think this should be a Richard Curtis job. I want the Richard Curtis of queer romance to develop this and make a very British 3-part film. Three films. Actually, I think it would be another delight. I could totally see it all working. And it's that sharp, almost caustic humour that'll have you rolling around, but buy a box of tissues because there's so much swooning. And we should also say, like, comparing it to something like Heated Rivalry, which is still in the bestseller list, like, it ain't going away. It won't go away, really. This is so sweet. Like, the door, everything fades to black. The door closes, even though it's so sexy. So what have you made out of me? I'm meant to be the spicy one. And, here I am holding up these sweet books. But I would utterly recommend them, as you and Carina at Shelf Lovers have recommended. Get this into you for Pride. All 3 of them. You won't regret it. It's so... Discover Alexis Hall. And then back it up with 10 Things That Never Happened, because you get actually a cameo of the hero in 10 Things That Never Happened.
Yeah. And also back up this with also make this into a movie or a TV series, please. This would be hilariously amazing.
And I love actually too how it's almost a little bit of a juxtaposition. So just about everybody I'm looking at the 3 books, the vast majority of the whole cast either are involved in the arts or music scene and have also gone to university, and some, we're talking postgrad level. Whereas I love 10 Things I Hate About 10 Things I Hate About You. I want to quit calling that, but 10 Things That Never Happened. There's this wonderful juxtaposition of a guy who works in retail ending up with the guy who did the MBA running several, chain stores of the retail brand that they are. Another great pun, that shop name. Splashes and Snuggles. Like, if I ever look at a bed, bath and table, that sort of thing, I always call them, that's a Splashes and Snuggles. And I say it unironically too. But I do like that and for a British point of view, there is a class difference in 10 Things That Never Happened, and it's great and it's lovely. And it's a little clash of culture for that. Whereas everyone, I think, speaking, they're on a similar sort of socioeconomic status. They're a group of friends that, they've got a very similar sort of background in that regard.
One of the really interesting things I find, well, there's 2 actually. One is this book is very sweary, but it doesn't seem sweary. Like,
that's true, isn't it? Yes. I would call it Billy Connolly punctuation. So you actually, I think the swearing is utterly needed. A reprobate son of, 2 very famous musicians, if he didn't swear, it would be really odd. And I don't even think Oliver, I barely think Oliver has the time to drop a swear bomb. And it's always speaking. Oh, and actually, that's something I want to really highlight too. That sort of difference too, because Luke believes he is the Hot Mess Express. When you do have Oliver, you'll have Luke watching Oliver. So we never get Oliver's point of view, but when Oliver's got the spotlight on him and he's gone into barrister mode, I just love how what it physically does to Luke in terms of he can't believe just how turned on he is because he's just so utterly convinced Oliver's got it all together. And that's their whole dynamic. I love it. And it's that sort of that term competence porn. So for Luke, he just can't get over when Oliver's in the zone, ain't nobody getting past Oliver. You know,
Yep.
Oliver's got you. Yeah. And it just does wicked things to poor old Luke. And we love it when when Luke's turned to mush over that. So, yeah. The opposites attract is just done so well, I think, in terms of that trope.
I'd love to know how many times the F word is actually in that book, because there's a lot. But
Yes.
there's no time at all that it is said with anger, or it's just like, I guess it's very much the way us Aussies speak. You know, it's just part of every sentence, and there's no meaning or harshness behind it. It's actually quite funny. And there's a lot of repetition in it. But that's another thing that's amazing in this book. There is so much repetition that a lot of authors don't do it don't do it the same way, don't do it anywhere near as well. But it's used in these books in just hilarious ways. I've actually got one. I might actually read it just as an example of what I'm trying to say.
I was going to say, give me something specific, because I think I know what you're going to do, but I want to hear what you want to do.
Just the way that they say the same thing, like 3 or 4 times in a sentence.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one, I've just tapped away. We're in chapter 41. So, but you're probably not going to get a context, but it's just an example. When Esther had said that arranging for Jazz to see her mother wouldn't make our lives easier, she wasn't kidding. She wasn't on the same street as Kidding. She and Kidding had met at a party 6 years ago and then moved to separate continents.
Yes.
Just that alone, like the way that they just emphasize those words to, like, I don't mean they're not kidding. They're not kidding, but just in just the best hilarious ways. There's so many examples of it.
Yep.
All the way through that just really emphasize stuff. And I'm just like, I just love how if another author repeated the same word over and over again in a sentence, that would just annoy the hell out of me. But this is done with intention and purpose and perfection. And I love it.
And like
all
even
the way through.
The beetle, there's a dung beetle, not for profit that he works for. That's who he's the fundraising manager for.
Yes.
And it's known as CRAP, CRAPP. And one of those, like, not kidding bits, he's got a co-worker, Brenda, and he refers to it in this line. And we're in husband material now. This is 3 books in, and Brenda is one of his sort of mortal enemies at work, but that relationship changes over time, and that's all I'll say. But Alexis Hall manages to say, like, the way Brenda always enunciates CRAPP, you can hear the full stops in between the acronym. And I'm like, it's art of perfection. Like, please run a masterclass, Alexis Hall, because the com and the rom, it's just on a stratospheric level.
Yeah.
But even crap, like that actually I couldn't even tell you what that stands for anymore, but it actually legitimately stands for the Latin name of the beetle, and what I think one of the P's is protection. So they're trying to conserve dung beetles, because pretty much this particular type of dung beetle, and there's X amount of, of the species, aerates the British soil, and if you don't have them, Britain will fall over because no one can eat. And hence why they're trying to fundraise for research and initiatives into this beetle. But the way I howled that his fundraising effort in book 3 is Craftstonbury. Oh, good Lord. Craftstonbury, like Glastonbury. That gag was perfection, because he's putting on a music festival. It's perfect. It's utterly perfect. And so things that you're thinking, that's a little bit crude. Like, I don't want to read about a company called, a not-for-profit called Crap. But somehow, I love how he actually leans right in. He doesn't shy away from a weak pun. He bolsters every one of his puns and jokes. And no one bats an eye whenever he's running around the countryside talking to landed gentry and titled aristocracy, trying to get their money for a not-for-profit called crap. It's just this brilliant running gag. And I'm kind of, now I've got to the end of this and I'm like, does this mean I don't get to go to any more staff meetings via Zoom at crap because it's so bad? And he does lean in. I love how Alexis Hall has leaned right into Zoom culture as well. And the hedgehog boxer shorts and, you know, business up top and hedgehogs down below. Like, there's some wonderful things that he's captured just around COVID living. Yeah, you can tell when he wrote all of these books, and there's these perfect touch points to just describe the way we work now. Yeah, and modern relationships, and I think modern friendship groups, because for me, that was one of the big emotional roller coaster bits of this, is where all of the friends that we've been through 2 books with, and we're already starting to get a bit nervous because everyone's pairing off, and that's the whole husband material book. But in this is worlds are colliding with different sorts of family structures, the pressures on different people in their friendship circles, with children, trying to fall pregnant, just all different sorts of permeations of families. And it doesn't feel forced in this. And in fact, there is one big dinner party where you're just like, oh, oof, all the feels. Yeah, that's for me when I was glassy-eyed. And, you know, when I get glassy-eyed, there must be some emotions on the page because you're the crier, girl. But there's all of these books. I feel like I'm an extra cast member when I read this. Like you, yeah, as a part of Luke's head, it's just amazing. Which I pronounce, I've got to ask you, do you pronounce it Luke? Which I just said it with a K then, K-E. Or do you sort of say it like Jean-Luc Picard, like from Star Trek, for that L-U-C? How do you do it a bit Jean-Luc?
Yeah, Luke.
Yeah. Also like Bluey, because Jean-Luc is the friend that Bluey makes from France on camping. So, yeah, it's got to have that slightly Frenchy type of accent, I think. So it sounds like it has a C rather than a K-E.
I do picture it in a clipped British voice when Oliver's saying it. Because I love that.
Yes, because there's the way that Oliver, he's so formal and precise. And because we're in Luke's head, we've been told and shown about how sexy that is too.
Yes.
But he also likes how Oliver pronounces his full name of Lucien. So we're on to you, Luke. Lucien, whatever your name might be. Yeah. There's something delightfully sexy about these 2 guys. It's wonderful. Yeah.
But even the whole, like, obviously the father material topic, the heartfelt, I was actually a bit worried about how that was going to be handled in this book.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, you know. But it was actually beautiful. It was funny. It was a wake-up call to both of them.
Yeah.
And even the ending, I mean, this is where I really needed the tissues. Like, the ending was glorious, sobbing, but also, I mean, how spoilery do we go? But I did put this in when I did my review. The word that Luke mentions, that it's the first time he's understood what it really meant, and it was bittersweet.
Yeah.
What he finally understood, what, like, how that actually really felt, and that just like, just by saying that, it's just like, you just really tugs at the heartstrings. It was just a glorious,
yeah.
glorious, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
But also the way they both come together in completely different contexts and completely different ways to navigate through that journey.
Oh, yes.
They
Yeah.
each have a very big part to play, and I just think that it was a big growth learning for them as well.
Oh,
But it
yeah.
was just
Yeah.
such a joyous thing to be a part of as you go along that journey. It was just, I mean, I don't want to say details because I don't want to give away too much information if you haven't read the book.
I think we
But
can say one detail, though, because, like, on the front cover, you're going to meet Spud.
yes,
There we go. There's Spud in front of my face. So, and I'm reading the blurb that's on the arc, and I think you could be forgiven for thinking, oh, they're like fur parents, which is technically true for part one. There's the book again, like heated rivalry. That's all I'm saying. There's 4 parts, but and you'd be thinking, oh, okay, they are literally learning what is parenthood with even just having a pet. And like, I'm under the impression that neither of them have actually ever owned a pet, just with the nature of how they both grew up. It was something they never did. Yep. Certainly for Oliver. But Luke, that sounded like he lived quite a wild, transient sort of life because of rock star parents who were separated. Yeah, and in the other 2 books, there's just a menagerie of dogs with, what is it, the platonic best friend of his mother. Judy's just always there.
yeah,
And there's just a
yes,
cast of all these dogs named after members of the royal family. Hilarious. Isn't that right, Eugenie? Eugenie, the naughty one. And again, great banner, just great jokes, just great comedy all around that cast of dogs. So you're thinking, oh, but why would this be such a big deal? But you learn that this is their trial run. If we can't own a dog, could we ever cope with another human that we're legally responsible for in this house? And with hinting at that all of their friends, every sort of permeation of parenthood is repped in this in some shape or fashion. And for them, they actually rep fostering, which I think was really, again, through Oliver's ethical perspective on life, like that he had proposed, I think we should do this because ethically there's these kids that are slipping through the cracks. And I just thought that was beautiful too, because again, it's Oliver and his barrister voice being so heartfelt about trying to make the difference in the life of an older kid. Like they're not going to adopt a baby who would think that they've always been the parental figures in their life. And that just makes that journey even harder, even though they knew it was going to be hard, like what you said, and then it's bittersweet at the end. So I found it a really fascinating story because it was a different take on the foster situation for the teen in question too. And I thought that was great.
Exactly. It was just such a beautiful... Well, I guess that's what I was meaning when I was saying I was worried where this was going. And then it was just, okay, this is perfect. But I also loved how going from getting, like, with the dog situation and how they came at that from opposite opinions and how they had to navigate that and how that was sort of a bit of a trick at the first because...
Oh, yeah.
Oliver took control pretty much, and this is the rules, and this is how we're doing it. But then eventually Luke had the confidence to go, hang on, this is us, not you and me. This is us, and how he came in to have his say, and that was reflected along the journey. So I love how he had that. Because usually it's just like, clever. Oh yeah, I trust you in everything. You know more than I do. I just you would know, so I'll just do what you say. And then it's like, hang on a minute, I have opinions, and I love that.
And I loved all the dog ownership manuals and guides and books because Oliver has read them all, bought them all, and Luke had read 3 pages of one of them before the dog arrived. as in Luke's word, I don't read. He lies all over Oliver on the couch and is watching reality TV shows and providing some sort of commentary on Perfect Match, I think the words were, while Oliver's working on Barrister Briefs. Like, total opposites attract. But also, I actually thought the dog ownership manuals, the dog training your dog how-to guides became a little bit of a metaphor. Talking woman to woman, mother to mother, there's always so many baby books, how to raise your kid books. They all conflict with each other. And that's where Alexis Hall is brilliant, funny, and yet is just providing these, across all three books, cutting and really insightful views or commentary on what's happening in our lives, in modern society. And I thought that was really clever, how that became a metaphor for preparing themselves to be parents and how to have conversations, working together as a unit, not as two individuals with individual opinions. Just have those tissues ready, everybody, because while you're laughing, you just realise, wait a minute, that was an insightful commentary on modern society. I mean, it's utterly fun and it's beautiful.
Yes. The fact is, there's no one size fits all when it comes to parenting, whether it's a dog or a child. Every child is different. Every situation is different. And I love how that was also explored.
It totally was. Yeah. And the conclusion that the whole friendship group came to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I guess to sum up the book, if you want something that's just going to crack you up laughing, it's going to give you a few cheesy jokes to tell. Yeah. You'll have a few cheesy jokes, very cheesy jokes to tell at the next work party or something.
Yes.
But also that's gonna
cheese.
Yes.
And that's what I was going to end with. All of that, because I think I wrote to you in all caps, the cheese jokes are dad jokes the whole way through. And I don't know how Alexis Hall did this, because there was always incredibly bad jokes. That's Luke's thing that he does, in particular with another staff member. That's all I'm going to say. And yet it evolved into book 3. They are dad jokes. And I can't even tell you how that changed, because the quality never improved or got worse, but they were dad jokes. But I think we even have a book of dad jokes that have just got a whole section on cheese puns. So I don't know if Alexis Hall had recently found a copy of one of those little joke books. I don't know. But that's what made it utterly so good. That never lost it. So Luke's gentle teasing of his colleagues who are completely clueless to jokes. That was utterly great. And I have to say, I am going to buy the paperback because the ARC copy is not enough. And probably Katrina at Shelf Lovers wants her ARC copy back. How dare she? And I already know that Oliver in this book has told me it is incorrect to assume 9/10 ownership is 9/10 of the law. So it's like, I've learnt law things too. Sorry, Oliver, I guess I can't keep it. I have to buy my own copy. But these are going to be trophy books, and I could see myself doing regular rereads of all 3 just to smash them out and just have that warm hug again to remember how utterly ridiculous it all was. Yeah.
Well, I read the first 2 a few years ago now, and each year I've read them, they've been in my top 10. So whatever year I read, the first one was in my top 10, second year was in my top 10. And then obviously this one, one moment.
We've got a Sharon down.
This one was also in my top 10. I think this was like number 2 in the year that I read this. But this one, it'll definitely be in my top 10 as well. It was just glorious. Now just bring out the series in sprayed edges, please, and that'll be a great trophy for my wall.
Sprayed edges, hardcover. Yeah, that's what I want. That's that's what I want. Sourcebooks, make that happen. Some of us need pretty books on our shelves, and I'm in my pretty book era. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And can someone please sell Alexis Hall, sell the movie option rights? Let's get the queer romance equivalent of Richard Curtis whoever that is right now. I don't know. Just ask Jonathan Bailey, could he please just make these into film? And actually, I could imagine, I'm going to call it, like Jonathan Bailey's 37, but looks that indistinct 30 plus. I could see him being 30, like they're in their 30s for book 3. He would make an utterly great Luke. Like, let's dishevel Jonathan Bailey a little bit.
Amazing.
Let's tiz him up. Let's rip his jeans a bit. Put him in hedgehog boxer shorts. I don't know. Oh, but I thought of Oliver as like Kit Connor from Heartstopper, but he's like very early 20s. But I could imagine he'd be good in that grey pinstripe suit. So we can marinate him for a few more years while the movie options and the script are done. But I could see him aging well, that sort of blonde Oliver. But I've got to work on my cast. The age gap between the Jonathan and Kit won't work. But yeah, can we go on the search now just to sign him up? Maybe a Sebastian Croft. He could do, I reckon, a dishevelled Luke. You need to be able to be rockstar bad boy, party boy, as well as he scrubs up all right when he has to. Yeah. Please and thank you.
Yes.
Because we asked nicely. So I'm going to be signing off. And it's a little bit bittersweet signing off this because we might not get a 4th book. It's this beautiful trilogy for Alexis Hall, but slide into our socials. Tell us what you thought of. I'm going to peer over the edge. Father Material, tell us what you thought of all the 3 books because you will not regret getting this trilogy. Do it now, especially because it's just out. Make all of Alexis Hall's sales figures look really impressive. It's Pride Month. Read some queer joy and some queer romance. You can find Pages and PJs on the socials. We're on Threads. We're on Instagram. We are on YouTube. You're listening to us now. Maybe you're watching our faces right now on the tube. But give us a follow, and that helps us to tell you when another episode has dropped. And thank you for listening, everybody.